All right, welcome to today's asynchronous lesson video. It's a little bit long, so just follow along. And again, if you have questions, please email me and ask for help. You're going to want to get all of your information from folder for week 12, and you're going to be opening these two links, the iPad infographic and the PictoChart link. That should take you to a document that looks something like this. And also, if you click on the PictoChart link, it should bring you to a website that after you create an account or log in, should bring you to something that looks like this, where you might be able to start creating your infographic. And I'll show you more things at the end of this video about using PictoChart. Now, the goal for today is for you to start creating a poster that shows a comparison between two types of behaviors. One that you think is not great for your ecological footprint, and one behavior that might be a replacement or a substitute behavior that might make your ecological footprint a little bit better for the planet. Now, as we were talking about on Tuesday, there's a lot of different ways to visually show data based on color and size and the way you organize information. So while this first graph that we looked at comparing the gallons of water per ounce of food was very colorful and also visually appealing, we sort of critiqued how it was lumped together and sort of hard to understand. While this very linear bar graph looking at the different aspects of CO2 emissions for different types of food was very clear cut, it was a little bit hard to interpret, and it took a little bit longer to understand. So our goal is to think about how we can visually display some information and talk about two different types of behaviors to really make an engaging infographic poster that might be educational for your peers, but also people that you might come across in your life. So again, you're going to be making a poster about something that you care about, something that you think you could make a change within your own lifestyle, or it be accessible for other people to make a change. And you want to make sure that you're thinking about a change that's sustainable, not just for the planet, but also for people being able to achieve this behavioral change or think about maybe doing something a little bit different. And our goal is to really think about how do you convince people to change their behavior? Is it through sharing a lot of data, stories, images, all three? How are you going to make a poster that would have someone read in 3 to 5 minutes and they might actually think about switching something that they're doing in their life? So you're going to be making a poster that looks something like this, that's both data-driven and word minimal, that explains how one activity is not necessarily great for the environment and how a specific solution or replacement might lead to a better footprint outcome. You're going to be really focusing on the impact, the population, the affluence, and the technology for each of these behaviors. You should have 4 components embedded either clearly or just visually within your poster. The 4 parts being I, P, A, and T, and they should be for your problem and for your solution. The goal for your poster is that it's engaging, it's informative, it's accessible, and it's also convincing. It's engaging and convincing because people should be able to be drawn to it visually, and they might come away with some great information about how to change their behavior. It should be accessible, meaning almost anyone could read this, not people just in an advanced environmental science. But it should be informative. You should have data and facts and figures and information that really help people understand a very clear difference between one type of action and another type of action. I really like this poster because while it's visual and it's sort of colorful, it doesn't have a lot of words, so it's easy to read in a few minutes, but it's a very factual, it's a very specific, and there's a lot of good information that uses different types of data. We have percents, we have bar graphs, we have line graphs, we have numbers. It does a lot of things visually and also informatively. So again, here are some different ideas that people have already started on their poster. You want to be picking something that's unique to your peers because ideally we can all share and present these posters and come away with a lot of good ideas about how we can make individual changes in our own ecological footprints. If you need ideas or if you need help finding information, again, just let me know. So the first thing that you're going to be working on for your poster is the impact. The impact is just really the overall effects or the outcomes of your action or your behavior, both for your problem and the proposed solution. Now, you want to be looking for data related to things like amounts, change over time, percents of a global problem. You might be able to connect your impacts to things like environmental impacts or health impacts or economic costs. And you want to make sure that you're looking at the same types of data or the same types of measurements that describe both your problem and your solution. So if I look at this great infographic about the environmental impacts of livestock, I'm getting data about land, water, greenhouse gases, land degradation. If I'm convincing people that they need to switch up their hamburgers to peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, probably going to want to look for data about land, water, and CO2 related to peanuts. Again, if you need help finding information, just let me know. The second part that you're going to be working on is the P. Now, when we talk about the P in IPAT, we're talking about the population that is completing a similar action or behavior, and we can sort of break that down into different subcategories. You want to be looking for data based on the number of people completing an action or how the activity has changed over time in specific populations. You can add specific data related to a population in terms of income, thinking about demographics or education, maybe sex, region, or more. There's lots of ways for us to think about how different populations, even within one country, use a similar resource. For your solution or your alternative action, you should also examine how many people are currently doing this activity, and also maybe think about how many people ought to be doing this, or maybe why are people not doing this activity. Give some context as to what might be some of the barriers or limits to people doing this activity. Which brings us to our third part that you're going to be working on, affluence. Now, affluence of an action is really the amount of a product that is consumed or the number of times an action is completed. This can be a little confusing with population. When we talk about the population of a behavior, we're really concerned about the number in terms of the action being completed, the amount of the action being done, or really the behavior, the number of people doing that behavior. With affluence, though, we're really concerned about how many times is an action being completed, how much of that resource is being consumed per action, or also how much does that action cost monetarily or any transaction. So we're really thinking about what is the overall consumption of that action, while population is really thinking about how many people are doing that. Now, when you think about your solution or your alternative behavior, you want to think about these things, but also why aren't people increasing this action? If it's good for them, why aren't they doing it? What would make it possibly a more attractive behavior? Or also, why is this action simply better? Does it cost less? Does it produce less CO2? While the impact of your behavior for part one can be the big, bold ideas, you can also think about the overall small pieces of consumption in terms of costs or amounts. Now, all of these directions are in the IPAT prompt Google Doc, which is in Schoology. So there's information about the influence, the population, and the affluence for your poster. So when you look at the picture chart, you're going to want to first pick a type of poster to make. You could choose an infographic, which is going to be very much designed to be digital. You could look at a poster, which is more of something you could print out. It's a little bit more condensed. Or you might even look at something like a flyer, which has the most sort of discrete organization. Once you pick the type of presentation you want to make, you're going to want to pick the type of presentation, the actual sort of pre-created model that you're going to be able to edit. And I've already started mine, which I'm going to show you. So let me just go to my dashboard. And I'm making a poster about eggs versus beef. I'm trying to convince people that they should switch eating beef to eating more eggs. So hence the moving on title here and the excellent. Now I have 3 different types of scenarios. In my impact sections, I've done a really good job of writing a few minimal sentences with a lot of data. Now, the great thing about this is it's very factual, but visually it doesn't look that great. So thinking about creating a poster that's both factual and engaging, you might want to make some of this be part of your poster, but at the same time you don't want to just have lots of bullet points and lots of tiny sentences with lots of facts, because it's not going to really draw the reader's eyes to that part of the poster. Now, I've made a second part for my population poster, which is showing these big, bold numbers of arrows and percents talking about some specific facts related to the population. Now, this is good because it's giving us numbers and it's giving us facts, but also these big, bold numbers are really drawing people's attention to that part of the poster. And visually and also mathematically, people are going to think a little bit more concretely about a big, bold, positive 23% than reading 100 grams of protein from eggs only need 30% of the water. So this is a really cool trick that you could use to maybe talk about some facts, but also not make it so visually blasé. And then finally, my third section that I've created so far is affluence. Now I've put some graphs in terms of the meat supply, the per egg capita consumption, but also the economic trend between GDP and daily food supply from animal products. Now graphs are a really good thing for you to put in your poster. The tidbit that I would say is that while I've made sort of an analysis section here of these 3 posters, the one thing I would have to say is it still looks pretty uninteresting. While these sections that I've written are great, they don't look visually that appealing. So I'm challenging you to think about how can you create sections of your poster, your infographic, that are a little bit more engaging than just simply copying and pasting graphs and writing about them. This one looks to me like the best use of organization, space, color, and size. Love the graphs, could do without the paragraphs. And then thinking about how you talk about data. What's the best way to do that? You can change your poster in terms of design components, uploading, changing the background, the text, the color scheme, the graphics. When it comes to writing things, you have the basic sort of font size and sort of editing powers that you can have there. And this should automatically save every couple minutes. You don't need to worry about losing your information. Again, let me know if you need any help. I'm here periods 2 and 4 free, so if you need help finding facts or figures, just send me an email and I'll be able to get some stuff for you. Have a great day and I'll see you on Friday.